yet I feel like, I did what I had to do to save myself to fit into the society. And I imagine other people have their things and they figure out how to.
Yeah, we negotiate who we are
Exactly.
with each other
Yes.
for reciprocal relationships.
Yes.
The whole idea that you can do all this on your own is insane.
Yeah, no.
If you just look around this room and think about how many humans were involved in order for you to live by yourself doing this, you don't live by yourself to do this.
No. This is why I do not claim to be the be all end all. I see myself as in a stream,
mm-hmm.
constant things going by,
mm-hmm.
but in the stream navigating.
Mm-hmm.
And in that way, that's the only way that synchronicity is even achieved. You're not going to sit on your couch and have anything synchronistic happen.
Mm-hmm.
You've got to be engaged.
Welcome to Life with Strings Attached. I'm your host, Jamie Gale. Today's special biography episode with legendary guitar maker Steve Klein was filmed live on location in Northern California. Steve's story begins in San Francisco in 1949. It's a story shaped by Austrian immigrants who were ski instructors, scientists, artists, and the generation that came of age during one of the most creative periods in California's history. As a kid, Steve was constantly making things: model airplanes, model cars, pottery, leatherwork, and woodworking. If there was a way to build it, he wanted to understand it. After some years in New York and Seattle, he returned to the East Bay as a teenager, where Steve found himself surrounded by the music, experimentation, and creative energy that defined Northern California in the 1960s. A fortuitous encounter with Dr. Michael Kasha helped shape the direction of his work, while friendships, chance meetings, and a willingness to walk through unfamiliar doors opened opportunities that would define his life. Over the next 6 decades, Steve would build a career that reflected the same curiosity that shaped his childhood, as he continues to explore new ideas about design, function, and the guitar itself. I thoroughly enjoyed my conversation with Steve Klein, and I hope that you will as much as I did. Look deep into my eyes, Steve. Amazing.
So why did you invite me here today?
Oh, well. We're in. So it's great to be back here. It's been too long, I think.
I'll agree with that. Agree with that.
Yeah. Thanks for hosting us in your workshop.
Absolutely my pleasure. I mean, at this point, this is what I need to do to let people know I'm still alive.
Oh, yes. Sending out the notice.
No, and I say that just because, you recently did the thing with Ken Parker, and my dear friend, and, what can I say? My Rolodex gets thinner all the time. So,
yes. Yeah. Actually, Ken was set up to do an interview, and he called in. I was in Italy at the time, and we were doing it virtually. And he said, I've got, sorry, Jamie, I've got laryngitis for the first time in my life, so my voice sounds a little funny. And I said, well, if you want, we can do it again next week, while your voice is better. And he's like, are you sure? I said, yeah, I want you to want to share it if you don't like the sound of your voice right now. And so we agreed to do it next week, and then next week never quite happened. His voice, I guess, never recovered. And yeah.
Reminds me of the time I saw Michael Hedges play. He was playing with Bella Fleck and the Flecktones.
Mm-hmm.
It was the Brit Festival in Oregon. And I was with my first wife at the time, Lynn Marie, and Michael had actually played at our wedding. So she said, well, let's go backstage and, see Michael. And the place was jammed. Of course, the Flecktones. I mean, it was a spectacular concert and everything. And I just went, he's going to be slammed. No, we'll see him next time. Same story. Wasn't it next time?
Wasn't it next time? Yeah. Live in the now. You also can't be living in a way where you're afraid that you're never going to see someone again also, right? How do you find the equilibrium in that? I think that you do your best in the moments, and
yeah, you do your best. I mean, my dear friend and customer over 45 years, Cat Core, Third World, passed away in December. I just found out that they buried him with one of my guitars.
Wow.
I'm still trying to go. A piece of old growth redwood was the body, came out of the Bohemian Grove, turned into a guitar that he traveled around the world with, now buried in the ground in Jamaica.
Right.
I'm not sure how to really process that, to be honest.
Well, I think you can be grateful. You can be grateful that you had an impact on someone that clearly had an impact on you, and you had a reciprocal relationship where you're both better for it.
Absolutely.
And I think that's the only way to deal with it, is to be grateful for the times.
I'm honored. I'm absolutely honored. It's just, it's a first. I'll put it that way.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, that's amazing. We are here today to capture your story. Steve, you've made a substantial contribution to the luthier's craft, to the guitar world. Not just luthiers, but you've affected the musicians. You literally just talked about a musician whose family decided to bury him with your instrument. It's not about just collecting things. It's about the music that was made with them. And I know that's really important to you. And so we want to sort of capture those parts of your life that, we'll go right back to the beginning, where you're born and to whom, a little bit about your parents, your family, and then sort of bring forward those moments that if we remove those moments, then maybe you wouldn't be who you are today. Those pieces along the way that are significant to your story. And we've been doing this with your friends, your peers also. And we've done this with Ned Steinberger and John Monteleone and Grit Laskin and a number of all your friends.
Wonderful people I've had the pleasure to know over these many years.
Yeah, exactly. And so let's just take it back to the beginning. So when were you born and where and to whom?
I was born in San Francisco in 1949.
To who?
To my mother, Louise Hildebrand, and my father, Frederick Klein. My father had come to America when he was 19 in the middle 30s with draft papers for Hitler's army in his pocket. His father had come to St. Louis. His father was, I'm sure, who I got my talent from, ornamental caster. Had been forced to cast cannons during World War I. Hated it. Came to St. Louis. Worked for several years. Finally went to his boss, said, I got to go home. I can't get my family here. And his boss said, no, I'll get you a lawyer. So that's how my grandma, my dad and his brother got to America before,
From Germany?
From Austria.
From Austria.
Austria.
Whereabouts in Austria? Do you know?
God, I want to say Lilienfeld.
Was it closer to, Vienna or Salzburg or Innsbruck?
Yeah, it was closer to Vienna.
To Vienna, okay.
You can fact check me.
Yeah, that's okay. So of Austrian German descent.
Austrian German descent.
Yeah,
correct.
So St. Louis, and then the employer says, I don't want to lose you.
I don't want to lose you.
I'm going to help get your family over.
Yes, and that's exactly what happened. So my dad and uncle had learned to ski in Austria. you know, they'd learned to ski from this old guy who had his own little ski hill, and he was, you know, the single pole, you know.
Really?
I mean, this was the old days. And when my dad and uncle showed up with 2 poles,
Yes.
he banned them from the hill. So my dad and uncle eventually became the very first official ski instructors on the West Coast back in the middle, late 30s. They started up at Claire Tapan Lodge in northern area near Donner Lake, where Sugar Bowl, the resort that they eventually kind of moved to, is based. And that's where that all happened because my grandfather, my mom's dad, had been into skiing. In fact, he was the he was the I'm not sure what level it was, but one of the main guys of the ski team when they were in in Germany. So it goes way back. At any rate, he had placed an ad for ski instructors to come to teach at Claire Tapan, which was the Sierra Club Lodge up there. And my dad and uncle from St. Louis somehow had gotten around, and they drove across the country and started teaching skiing. You'll see in my book there's a picture of the a pass for ski lesson and tow for the day for $1 at Clay Tapan, taught by Fred and Bill Klein. So skiing was a big part of the deal, and that's how my mom and dad met. My grandfather had actually put my mother in charge of the correspondence with my dad when they were talking about coming to California, because she knew some German and my dad's English was not very good yet. My uncle during the war taught the ski troops in Colorado. My dad went on to fly for Pan American, actually started as a mechanic, but became flight engineer and pilot for Pan American before, and just into the jet era. But then went back into the ski business with my uncle. So I grew up all my high school years mounting skis in the ski shop.
There's a bunch of skis as we come in the shop here.
That's because I just cleared out the condo that the family's owned up in Incline that had just gallons of equipment left over by relatives. You know, most of it was junk at this point, but I was trying to clear it out to be able to sell it. So,
yeah. All right. So the skiing is there. Your parents meet there because your father is actually employed by your mother's father at that point. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So he falls in love with the boss's daughter.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Wonderful. And what about your mom? What defines your mother?
My mother, bless her. She spent her entire life researching and developing a theory for a common language for the social sciences.
Okay. Sounds like a worthy endeavor.
Yeah, I had about 3 people on the planet she could talk to about this endeavor. But finally, before she passed, she was 94, she finished her book. And it is just a theory, but she had gotten a certain amount of recognition for, one of the problems in the social sciences is that they all speak different languages, and they need to be able to speak together to be able to, cross-pollinate.
Yeah, common lexicon.
Yeah, exactly. So there was math involved. There was all sorts of stuff involved, and way above my. But she recognized in me that I was dyslexic before it was even a word.
Yeah.
She took me to art classes. She took me and, sat me in the corner with the Encyclopedia Britannica and paper and pencils and scissors and crayons and just let me do stuff.
Yeah.
So here I am.
Do you feel seen by that? Do you feel like that was what you needed?
She was, in my younger years, definitely the grounding part, whereas my dad was much more of the,
As a guitar builder and a player, you have a sense for when something's working right. That's why so many of the world's best trust D'Addario. Unmatched tone, perfect intonation, and strings made to the tightest tolerances in the industry. That reputation is no accident. It's the result of 400 years of being obsessed with quality and innovation. D'Addario, when you know, you know.
There's the great story. You like my hair. My mother, when we were still in Levittown, Long Island, because my dad was flying for Pan Am at the time, before we came back to California.
You're born in San Francisco, but you end up in Long Island at some point?
Right after being born, we spend my first 4 years, I live in Levittown, Long Island.
Okay.
And I had long blonde hair like I do now. My mother comes home one day, and my father has cut half of it short.
Just half?
Just half. He says, we can do the other half if you like. Apparently, they didn't speak to each other for several weeks. So you can see that, my father still had a lot of that, hardline Austrian father figure stuff.
Yeah.
But, by the time he realized I wasn't going to be a dentist, he said, "You're good with your hands, you can be a dentist, and that I was really a guitar maker, and I was not going to take over the ski business. He delighted in bringing his friends up to my shop here in Sonoma, and just totally embraced it. I mean, he funded it. So, the money he had stashed for me to go to college, he helped me buy property, and here I am still.
Great. Any siblings?
Older brother, 5 years older.
What's your brother's name?
Christopher Klein.
Christopher Klein.
Yeah. No, we're in contact all the time. He's down in the Berkeley area. He became the geochemist. Traveled around the world following revolutions. Was in Chile during Pinochet. Was in Tehran during the occupation of the embassy. Was in the Philippines. Yeah. Emerging countries want to know what's underneath the ground, so they're constantly wanting people to tell them what the core sample.
How much resources they have.
How much resources they have.
Yeah.
He traveled around.
Oh, interesting. Okay. All right. So you and your brother, because he's always there, because he's 5 years older than you.
Yep.
All right. Are growing up Long Island for a little bit. Then where do you?
Well, at 4 years old, we moved first to California very briefly, but then that was just a step to going to Seattle.
Yeah.
So my growing up years are in Seattle.
Yeah, I thought you were from Seattle.
Yeah,
Until you just told me a moment ago.
Till about the age of 13.
Okay.
Played Little League. I was one of 4 white kids on an all-black team. Best years of my life.
Why? Why were they the best years of your life?
Camaraderie. The understanding of the difference between the races. It was economic and not personal. I learned a lot.
They were good friends?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And, we were playing on Garfield high schools, had the area that we played on.
Yeah.
That was the same high school my brother went to
Mm-hmm.
at the time that Jimi Hendrix was going to school. So
okay.
right in that whole area, there was some kind of, even though I wasn't into music at the time,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, some seed.
Yeah. Okay. Great. So during this time, help me understand a few moments from your childhood that you think are defining for you that ultimately relates to who you are today. Are there some moments that you can think of that maybe if that didn't happen, you wouldn't be doing what you're doing today?
Well, to keep it condensed, it's probably sticking my hand in the jointer.
Yes. How old were you when that happened?
That was in 68.
All right, I think we need to go back before that. We'll get to sticking your hand in the jointer eventually. But I've asked you this question before when we were in Osaka, and you told me a story about your father's guitar when you moved to Seattle.
Oh,
At that time,
yeah. Well,
you felt was definitive.
That's more of the, and it's very real. It's just not as physically present in my life all the time.
Yeah.
And that was, yes, we had just gotten to Seattle. I was trying to make new friends.
Uh-huh.
Took a friend down into the basement to show him my father had two guitars. He had a 6-string and a double neck 12/6 guitar, Viennese. And they were just in soft cases, I dropped the double neck on the floor, cement floor, and it exploded. I mean, it was like, the old movie with the piano off the balcony, and I had just completely blanked this out of my memory for so long. But I now have the clear vision of him throwing it in the garbage can, and I think, I've been trying to rebuild that guitar my entire life to a certain degree. So that's the story I told you then.
Yeah. So, your father is a guitar player.
Was
from what I recall,
not a great player, but yeah, he knew a chord or two and actually played I've got a great picture of him with a harp guitar.
Wasn't that the first cover of?
It was one of the covers of the GAL, yeah.
Yeah, the Guild of American Luthiers.
Yeah.
Is a guitar orchestra of some sort? Is it all guitarists?
No, there's violin, there's there's a couple other things.
But your father's in that picture.
Yeah, and that was when he was still living in St. Louis.
Oh, okay.
During that period before coming to California.
Yeah. So guitar music is somehow in there.
Yeah. Although, it's interesting, I never, except for a few camping trips where a guitar would come out and my dad might pick it up and play a few chords. I never thought of him as a guitar player.
Okay.
Now, he actually had a very good voice and could yodel.
Traditional Austrian yodeling, sort of. Yeah.
So, and of course, I'm sure during his ski instructor days at the lodge and after hours around the fireplace, was, yeah.
Sure. Was what, Steve? You look embarrassed.
You guys can just take it from there.
All right. So, any other moments about sort of what did you do when you were growing up? I mean, you didn't just come fully formed out of the head of Zeus as a guitar maker.
No, I did everything. I built model airplanes. I built model cars. I built. I just like building things. helped, in some house construction just out of curiosity more than my ability to help. And I don't know, I've just always liked working on stuff that was practical. A useful tool is an idea that, a beautiful hand plane is not only functional, but it's beautiful. Its construction, the way it's designed to fit the hands and work, its weight to its need. That's a very simplistic thing of how a tool can be both. And so I've always, when I started thinking about guitars, I've never built a traditional X-Brace guitar. I've never built a traditional anything. I just didn't start from that. Kind of like Ned Steinberger. Oh, the kitty's back.
Okay.
I've got a new walk-in.
We've had cats in our interviews before.
Okay.
If it's okay to ignore it, we'll just carry on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's fine.
So you've never built a traditional guitar. All right. So you've grown up building things in Seattle.
In my bedroom, my junior high and high school bedroom, I had not only a workbench with a vice clamp to it, I had a potter's wheel. This is in my bedroom.
Okay, great. Okay, so you're crafting, you're building, you're making things. And that's an active part of what's going on.
I was sewing clothes. I made my own work belt out of leather. Thought I could do it all, stupidly. That's part of the wonder of naivete when you're young. You can do everything.
There's a point where we had to do it all at one point in time. We live in a very modern world where we sort of disseminate our knowledge and skill set amongst each other and trade back and forth with the stuff we call money. But I think that it builds a great deal of understanding and competence when you do such things. It
gave me a lot of confidence. I'd show up on when I was working in Colorado, I'd show up on a job site with a belt that I'd made myself, and the guys are looking at me going, okay, who are you?
Yeah, great. Okay, so here we are, we're 13, we're in Seattle, you've got a workbench and a potter's wheel.
No, that comes later when I get back to California.
All right, so when do you return to California?
About 13, 14.
About 13 or 14 years old.
Right.
Another work transfer for your dad?
Yes, this was when the jets were just starting to come in, and they were going from 4 guys to 3 guys in the cockpit.
Did you travel with your father?
Yes.
Did you get to see some of the world?
I went around the world with my mom and brother before he retired. Literally around the world. I lost a day of my life.
Yeah.
I also have a very, very fond memory of flying with my father. And this was, he did learn to fly the jets. And this was a flight out of Seattle to Juneau and Fairbanks. And they let me fly in the cockpit. Am I dating myself here? It was one of those days that was so spectacular that the stewardesses and the stewards, they're all coming to the cockpit going, this is just a spectacular day. So they took it all off of flight control and they just followed the fjords. It was an amazing flight. So
that sounds fantastic.
Yeah.
Few people get to experience that.
Yeah. And a cockpit flight. People don't realize that, the cockpit's right at the nose of the jet, right? And that's it. As it's rolling down the runway, before it's even taken off, what's happened? It's risen up about 20 feet before it gets the wing carry. And just that, watching that from the cockpit rise You just realize you are going into the air much more than you feel when you're back in the plane.
Yes.
It's pretty amazing.
Wow. We recently took quite a small plane from the Vancouver Island into Vancouver.
Mm-hmm.
And the steward was the co-pilot. So they never closed a door or anything of the sort. As a matter of fact, there was you can't walk to his seat. You had to climb over controls to get into the seat beside it. And so you can, for the first time, I was sort of in the front seat. I could sort of view into the cockpit and what's happening as they sort of lift it off. And this small little sort of two-prop plane that went over. And that was, well, I didn't quite get to experience what you did, but I saw something of it anyways. Yeah. Cedar Creek Custom Case Shop is your premier fretted instrument custom case maker, and we invite you to create a musical instrument case unlike any other, one that's unique to you. Every Cedar Creek custom case is hand-built by highly skilled craftspeople using only select woods, Providence Forge hardware, and premium instrument-friendly materials. At Cedar Creek Custom Case Shop, we are dedicated to helping you design the case of your dreams. Find out more at cedarcreekcases.com. It sounds very magical. Do you see these moments? You seem to really engage in these moments. Do you have something of a photographic memory, or
in those periods? Yes.
Yeah.
No, I see.
It looks like you're there when you're telling me the story.
Yeah.
Do you feel like you're there when you're telling me the story?
Absolutely.
I don't have that. That's an interesting way to experience things. I can only imagine anyways.
Well, maybe we all think differently. We all process differently. It's amazing that we find a common ground in some ways. And yet I feel like, I did what I had to do to save myself to fit into the society. And I imagine other people have their things and they figure out how to.
Yeah, we negotiate who we are with each other for reciprocal relationships.
Yes.
The whole idea that you can do all this on your own is insane.
No.
If you just look around this room and think about how many humans were involved in order for you to live by yourself doing this, you don't live by yourself to do this. This is
no. This is why I do not claim to be the be all end all. I see myself as in a stream, constant things going by, but in the stream navigating, and in that way, that's the only way that synchronicity is even achieved. You're not going to sit on your couch and have anything synchronistic happen. You've got to be engaged.
Yeah.
And I mean, what I call my playpen is a perfect example of, not just me, but my collection of things that are useful to my craft.
Yeah. Okay. So you're back in California. You've literally seen the world with your family. And that's notable.
Yes.
So you did it with your family.
Yeah.
And so what's life like when you said California? Do you return to San Francisco? Where are you at this point in
time? Basically the East Bay.
The East Bay.
Yeah.
Of San Francisco.
Yeah. Right. The Berkeley, Kensington, El Cerrito area of the East Bay.
Okay. Right. And so what happens next on this trail to stay?
I managed to bungle my way out of high school and not get ejected, and literally it was only my chemistry teacher who had complete pity on me that gave me a passing grade. And I'd actually, for years afterward, Mr. Tobin, I would, I'd take my latest guitar down and show up and show it to his class and talk about, what I was learning about physics of guitars and stuff like that. So, after that, I took a brief stint at California College of Arts and Crafts. It was the only art college that gave a teaching credential.
Okay.
And it was a way of keeping out of having to go to Vietnam.
So this is during that period. So you're in late 60s, early 70s. When is this?
Yeah.
That you go to college? What year?
This is 69, 70. Right.
Summer of Love in San Francisco.
You know it, babe.
I mean, you're here in a very famous time.
Yeah.
What was it like? San Francisco of 1969.
Oh, what was it
in
like?
art college, presumably with your hair grown back.
Yeah, and the pants I'd made, and it was definitely a fascinating time. I mean, I still remember taking my mother to the Fillmore Auditorium. We saw Jefferson Airplane. Who else was on the bill? I know I saw quite a few shows there. And I'll never forget. Well, but at any rate, having my mother by her hand, walking up the stairs to the Apple Barrel, and billowing out of the place is oh, you're my best friend. The airplane's playing, and so it was delightful. I grabbed a chair, put it in the middle of the room, sat her down. It's got the liquid light shows and the moons and stuff going on, and the blinking lights, and she's just like. So that was fun. I'll never forget them literally nailing Ginger Baker's drums to the stage. Metal spikes like this. Just, I mean, this was when drum sets, they were not as fancy as they.
That's right.
Then, but he would have just driven himself right off the end of the stage if it hadn't been held down.
Yeah.
And when you see them driving spikes into the bass drum, there's going to be a good show.
Amazing.
Remember seeing Big Mama Millie Mae Thornton at the Avalon. God, man, was she fabulous. Dan Hicks. It was. And of course, guitars led to. I was playing acoustic guitar. My next door neighbor comes home with a drum set. I figured, I know nothing about electronics. I'll buy an amp and maybe I could make a guitar. And that was kind of the beginning.
Really? Those fucking drummers.
I ended up, this is my old friend Nick Kuklin. In fact, we just had lunch, a couple of the high school friends. We just had lunch yesterday. They came up here and, we still get together.
Really?
And he still has that drum set. In fact, I actually became a bit of a drummer and dragged it around to shows and stuff like that for several years while I was up here and playing around. And I was still playing music.
Yes. Okay. So, drums come in. All of a sudden, the acoustic guitar isn't enough if you want to play with your drummer friend. You say, I'm going to have to do something about this. And then you decide you're going to make an electric guitar.
Yeah.
Did it work?
Sold it for $100.
Oh, yes. That's a fair amount of money back then.
And my first two guitars, took me a while to figure this out. But it kind of gives you a sense of my sense of design, were fashioned after the old Phantom. I didn't copy it directly, but it took me a while to figure out you can't sit with that guitar, it's just, you got to stand with a strap. The ergonomic aspect of it was just non-existent. first learning experience building an electric guitar.
Yeah.
But they worked.
Mm-hmm.
I had fun, and I just kept going and going until one of the guys I met when I first came to California was my old buddy, Carl Margolis.
Mm-hmm.
And he and I learned to play guitar together when we were 14, basically.
Mm-hmm.
So he had polio
Mm-hmm.
when he was very young. In
Mm-hmm.
fact, the Chicago epidemic, we were talking about this
Mm-hmm.
earlier,
Mm-hmm.
and was always interested in things that fit and were ergonomic and that
Mm-hmm.
worked.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So he was heavily influential in the development of my little headless guitar and the offset neck angle and
Mm-hmm.
things like
Mm-hmm.
that. We worked together a long time. I passed away a couple of years ago, so but he was a big influence in me thinking in a non-traditional sense.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. I didn't know that connection. That's interesting. So you had a close friend.
Yeah.
Who had a need, and so I mean, I knew it was probably driven by a customer need. I didn't realize that you were intimate with that customer already at
Yes.
that point in time. And
Yes.
so you were solving a problem for a friend.
Yep.
Yeah.
We made some of the ugliest things I've ever done, but it finally refined down to, but it was only after me working with Ronnie Montrose for a while,
Mm-hmm.
designing a guitar,
Mm-hmm.
and me showing that guitar to Ned Steinberger in Nashville when Henry Juskowitz, the new owner of Gibson, had flown me out.
Yeah.
And Ned saying, "Oh, this would be great to be a headless," and he wanted everything to be headless, but
Sure. It was just
literally on the plane ride home,
Mm-hmm.
I had the full-blown image, and it took me about 20 minutes once I got to my drafting table to have that guitar pretty much ironed out.
Mm-hmm.
And it's still working today. We've made some of them in Japan. The Dana factory's made some, that same model, basically.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So something must work.
Yeah. But before that came acoustic guitars for you. So wait a second. So you had an acoustic, you needed an electric, you made electrics.
And then, I met Michael Kasha.
Okay.
Through my grandfather, Joel Hildebrand, my mom's dad, chemist at Cal Berkeley. In fact, they named the chemistry building after him.
After your grandfather?
Yeah, Joel Hildebrand Hall.
At
Cal Berkeley.
At Cal Berkeley. Okay. All right.
In fact, they named it to him before he'd even died, which is really rare. But he lived to be 101.
There's a number of people in our guitar industry who are directly connected to scientist fathers and grandfathers. I don't know if you know that. And polio. We'll maybe discuss that a little bit later on, but
interesting.
Yeah, but Joe Glazer's dad was a scientist at Stanford and worked with Dr. Jonas Salk on the
I'll be damned. Okay.
Yeah, who discovered the polio vaccination.
Yes.
And Tom, the founder of TKL, was bedridden for a year when he was a child with polio, and his father knew Jonas Salk, and Tom had some of the experimental stuff. And so as you're discussing this, I'm like, wow, all these people that I know who are roughly in this sort of age group had this effect of polio, but had parents or grandparents that were scientists.
Fascinating.
And we all ended up in the guitar industry somehow.
Yeah.
Weird.
This space is normally reserved for brands who make stories like this possible, like the Dario and the Cedar Creek Custom Case Shop. If your company belongs in this conversation, let's talk. We partner with brands who value craft, culture, and the quiet power of a well-placed idea.
Anyways, so your grandfather is...
So my grandfather's Joel Hildebrand. He knew Michael Kasha, who was a physical chemist, basically. And at some point, Michael was a visiting professor at Cal Berkeley for a year or so.
Mm-hmm.
Met him at a party in my grandfather's backyard.
Mm-hmm.
He was just getting interested in redesigning classical guitars.
Mm-hmm.
He'd been with his son and the Suzuki Method,
Yeah, yeah.
And of course they had cheap guitars, but
Right.
his curiosity got the better of him. He stuck a mirror inside the guitar and went, "This isn't the way it's supposed to be." Of course, he knew nothing about Luthery at that point.
Yeah.
At any rate, he gave me one of the very first blueprints of his very first classical guitar design at that party.
Mm-hmm.
And that was inspiration for my building electric guitars like that. I'm sorry, a steel string version of that guitar.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And even Michael at the time, Michael Kasha said, I don't know if this stuff's going to work with steel strings.
Mm-hmm.
And I was naive enough to say, no, I don't believe you. I think it can.
Mm-hmm.
And sure enough, proved him wrong. It
Mm-hmm.
definitely does.
Mm-hmm.
And fascinating how he worked with Richard Schneider on the classical end of things.
Mm-hmm.
And I worked independently on the steel string end of things. And over the years, Richard's and my stuff got more and more similar than it did become diverse. It was an interesting thing to watch and collaborate with.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Interesting. So, okay. So I think this is an important part because Kasha becomes a notable figure within the luthier community, particularly during this period of time.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize that you had met him sort of outside of the guitar context. And so is it too much of a stretch to say that you bring him into the steel string luthier world of California? Are you the bridge that happens there?
No, I can't say that because what ended up happening was Richard Schneider ended up working with Gibson, and they created the Mark series, which was a steel string version.
Yeah,
and I'm not going to say that I was that bridge, but I will say that the Mark series was a complete albatross around the Kasha neck. For years because it was such a disaster that literally they didn't want that model to succeed.
Right.
And it was just overbuilt and this, none of the Kasha stuff means anything unless you can build a good guitar first.
Right.
So you got to get to that stage and then you can start to refine it.
Right. So is meeting him the reason you start building acoustic guitars? Is that the impetus?
No, I was actually
already making.
I was just starting my very first acoustic guitar at the time.
Okay. Yeah. So it's synonymous though. Like it basically, your acoustics start with sort of curiosities with Kasha bracing.
Yeah, and then the synchronicity of meeting him. And,
yes.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. When is the first guitar that we would look at and say, oh, that's a Klein guitar?
Oh, God, I'm going to say it's probably 68, 69. Still had a kind of a square shoulder, but definitely had some of the aspects. You wouldn't really know it until middle 70s when it, my stuff started to solidify into a more repetitive thing that I was doing over and over rather than constantly changing something.
And what do you think is important to know about that moment?
That moment?
Yeah, when it becomes that guitar that you feel like this is something worth doing again.
Oh, you never know that moment until it's long past.
Well, it's pretty long past, Steve.
Yeah, but at which point it becomes just another stepping stone in the whole thing. It's not, to me, it doesn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, too much.
That's interesting. I've known many creative guitar makers, and this moment isn't particularly surprising because almost every single one of them really hates being defined. And you're like, I'm not getting in your box, Jamie.
Yeah. Well, and
however, there's a body of work and there's a book being written and there's guitars included in that body of work because publicly you've negotiated who you are with the space, and people look at that and listen. You've been to more guitar shows than you could possibly remember. And there are many people who make maybe wonderful instruments, but they're not memorable. But yet, any experienced, seasoned person out there from 500 paces can say, "Oh, that's Steve's guitar."
Well, I've having done electric and acoustic instruments, they're kind of two different things as far as just the visual.
But here we are in the mid-1970s, and you make a acoustic guitar that is what we now call a Klein guitar, maybe something that Kaufman might be building from. Also, in your relationship with Steve.
Oh, he can do it without me. I
get that, but the design is coming from you. So when that sort of shape that we would associate and now call a Kaufman Klein, that shape emerges in the mid-1970s.
Yes. Yeah. And I do remember that specific time at the drafting table when I realized in designing my very round lower bout, and I wanted to get rid of the square shoulder, the relationship between these two arcs had to be drawn from the same point, even though there were different radii. And that's what holds the whole image together. And that was an enlightening moment. And I've tried to incorporate that into my redesigning of even dreadnoughts and other things too.
I mean, that's a central perspective, right? I mean,
well, your eye sees it even if your mind doesn't understand.
Yeah. And the elongated headstock.
I always wanted a straight pull. This whole idea of, Dean headstocks or even Martins, when you're trying to get the nut to, not bind and stuff like that. Just only made sense to have a straight pull. And I liked lutes. I liked the look of the long lute headstock. So.
Yeah. So you start building those acoustic guitars. And then I think there's some moments that probably you interact with some musicians that bring notoriety to your work. And this goes from things you make on the side to being a career at some point, right? And so what's that sort of first moment that might be integral to your story?
Well, I learned from my buddy Carl, because of his polio. In fact, one of the last things I remember him when we were talking in the hospital, he says, "Nobody fucks with a cripple." And he taught me how to, even though I wasn't crippled, get into places. You can always apologize. But there, back in that day, I mean, I could literally, if I timed it right, I could run at the Berkeley Community Stage Theater back door with a couple of guitar cases in my hand, and they'd just open it for me. Thinking, oh, a late musician,
Part loading. Yeah.
So I was able to get into places, crashed a concert, Crosby, Stills and Nash concert at the Fillmore, got there real early, just started helping one of the lighting guys setting up some of the lighting equipment. And stage manager, how can I not remember his name? It'll come. Came around and he looked at me and said, "Who are you?" And I just said, "I have guitars. I'm interested in showing you the band." Blah, 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 blah. Clayton Johnson. Johnson. He was working for Bill Graham at the time. And he said, "Okay, well, this isn't the time. come to my office next week and and he was a guitar player. In fact, Clayton eventually went on with Leonard Skinner and went down in the airplane, but survived. It was never quite the same. But after our meeting at his office, he just said, anytime I'm stage manager, just show your card at the back door and you're in. So I spent an entire summer of 77, 78, those years, crashing the Greek Theater at Berkeley. Meeting a lot of different people, showing my guitars and getting feedback.
Yeah. And at what point in time does someone say, oh, I want this?
Well, there are a lot of different. The first real order was from Dan Peake of America. He called me after the fact, but there are all sorts of things like crashed a Stills concert, where literally I had 3 of my guitars, the 12-string that I'd finished, backstage. Stills comes out for the acoustic set, sees it, picks it up, strums it, walks out on stage with it. So, of course, the stage manager eventually comes to me and says, how much do you want for this guitar, I give him way low-ball price. And the guy goes, you must be kidding. I mean, the stage manager, pissed me off so much.
Yes.
I went downstairs, I stole the full bottle of tequila and walked out of the place early. Wasn't the last time I saw Steven, but selling guitars is not my forte, but
yeah. Does Steven know you stole his bottle of tequila?
Probably not.
Yeah.
Probably not. It wasn't his, it was just supplied. I mean,
yeah.
It did make the guitar case really heavy, though.
In the front? Yeah, in the neck?
Well, yeah, that's
yeah,
what it fit in the case. Yeah,
No, I know the feel. My hand felt it. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, well,
right?
I had
you stored all your shit in the front of the acoustic case.
I had these big flight travel cases because they didn't fit. My guitars didn't fit in anything else. So I had to have a custom. So they had these huge compartments up there in the neck, and just plenty of room for a nice big bong.
All right.
The art of selling oneself to the world. But I met some absolutely amazing people during that time. Just, all these famous musicians, they're all real people.
Yeah, I'm not looking to get famous people onto your story. What I'm looking for is, listen, there's moments in time where I've said it a number of times. I meet a guitar maker from Germany by the name of Nick Huber at the NAMM show. Nick sells me the first guitar he ever sold in North America, and it's enough for Nick to decide to keep coming to the NAMM show. I'm a retailer who needs inventory that I can compete with because all the big lines are locked up in my area. And I realize, there are amazing guitars out there in the world that the other stores don't have. And I start going down this path looking for more people like Nick Huber, which eventually leads me to, people like yourself and such. Nick and I both see that moment as, if he didn't sell me a guitar, he might not have come back. If I didn't find that guitar, I might not have gone down this path. Yeah. And so I'm really looking for that moment for you where it's like, people start wanting to buy your guitars, people start ordering your guitars. Like, is there a moment for you where you say, this is, I can make a living being a guitar maker? Like, when does that sort of turn on? You're still not sure?
I'm still not sure. I don't think it's ever really happened. you know.
What question should I be asking to get the answer? To get the answer, you fucking know I'm after. Well, you're dodging me over and over again. At what point in time do you at least figure out how to eke a meager living out of guitar making as opposed to working at a bar or doing construction or something
I've
else?
baked bagels. I've made furniture. You know.
Yeah.
It's always been a juggle. Now, I've managed to pull it off for, you know, the better part of 50 years. But in between that, I've always had to, you know, some kind of dance around it.
Yeah.
Because the business is never steady.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's got, I've watched it ebb and flow and, you know, pretty much flow away from anything other than Martin and Fender designs. You know, because the proliferation of these inexpensive instruments that all look the same, it's hard to break that mold. You know, violin is a violin. It looks like a violin.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you make a square violin, are you going to sell it?
Bo Diddley, maybe.
Yeah. We got one customer. That does not a business make.
Yeah.
As a guitar builder and a player, you have a sense for when something's working right. That's why so many of the world's best trust D'Addario. Unmatched tone, perfect intonation, and strings made to the tightest tolerances in the industry. That reputation is no accident. It's the result of 400 years of being obsessed with quality and innovation. D'Addario, when you know, you know.
So, and basically I've been making square guitars all my life, you know, I mean, because they are so unusually different than what we perceive as the rock and roll thing or even the acoustic thing. You know, the old story of, I think it was Kaufman. Guy comes to the booth, you know, he plays our guitars. Just, God, this thing sounds so good, you know. It's too bad it doesn't look like the music I play. Can't beat that, you know. I mean, it's either this or this, you know. I mean, we never talk about going to hear a concert. You go to see a concert. What does that say?
Well, I mean, yeah.
Maybe it's just semantics, but
yeah, I mean, we say I went to see Steve, and I also went to listen to you and talk with you.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, but I'm not a concert.
Yeah,
I'm not paying, you know, for a musical experience.
Yeah. Just a funny bit of our language.
I know. Yeah. Semantics is always fun.
Yeah, but I appreciate you digging in on it. All right. So, you know, you're making me second guess the things that I thought I knew about you, but I'm going to ask it anyways. There has been a moment where you said to me, I swear you said to me something like, and God bless Joni for picking up that guitar. You referenced at some point in time, at the time that I've known you, that there was a moment with Joni Mitchell that was significant.
Well, she was the big acoustic order. The fact that I could say I got an order for an acoustic guitar from Joni Mitchell. I mean, I wouldn't have even had to make the guitar, basically. But yeah, no, that was a pivotal time. Because of the power of her music at the time and what it said about what she may have been looking for. And
is that also the same period of time, late 1970s, 77, 78, somewhere around there? Or?
That was finished in about 78, yeah.
Yeah.
Started when I was still in Berkeley, but finished when I came to Sonoma County in 76, July of 76.
This is a really experimental time in guitar. There's a lot going on during this time period, even though it still feels like the big successful companies are the ones who dominate, and which they do, of course. But, you know, there's Alembic here and Rick Turner coming out of that also. There's, late 1970s, this is Ned Steinberger sort of,
Yes.
with Stuart Spector during this time
This
period
was
also.
when guitars finally had designers and not just people reproducing them.
Yeah.
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 I mean, the Vox Phantom was, that was a design school in England. The Flying V, the Firebird, that stuff was all, those were designers that got hired to make, design a guitar.
Right.
What I like to think is I maybe incorporated a little more understanding about what the guitar actually does and how it operates into the visual, physical,
the function part of it.
Functional part of it.
Yeah, a lot of it was aesthetically driven.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's got to look right. I mean, look at a flower. Look at, it's got to, there's all that symmetry. And it's still beautiful, and they're all still unique, and they're, this gets to the Fibonacci thing, and that's a whole nother
golden ratio, or at least owning a French curve, something that does it for you,
Well, the series that I'm, we'll probably do 2 more of them, but I've done 5 of the what I call the Fibonacci series with the abalone shell Fibonacci inlaid into the body, and that's I just love the fact that this was a mathematical architect who lived 80, 100 years before Leonardo da Vinci, and we're still now just seeing how it's such a part of our built-in system of how we see beauty and how beauty presents itself.
It's how the universe is formed. Every organic thing follows this sequence.
Yes.
And so it all is there. Our heart is a Fibonacci sequence.
Yes.
It's
well put.
Yeah, all of it is there. And so when we design using that observation about how nature unfolds, then we are comfortable with it.
Yeah. Well, and comfort. I mean, all I did with my Steli is design a comfortable Telecaster. The pickups, the pot placement, all that stuff is exactly the same as a Telecaster.
Right.
I just made it fit the body.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So you're making the acoustic guitars. You get some orders from some notable people. Some people want to also have them in. You're exploring sort of the theories of Kasha and then taking it sort of your own direction from there with that basis of understanding. And then is there something else about that before we sort of talk about your return to the electric guitar? Or was it always interwoven, or was there a period where it became really all about acoustics?
It was always interwoven, but there were always periods where either the industry or my perception in the industry, that led to either more sales one way or another. I eventually let the electric industry go to a friend, and because I was getting so much more Japanese interest from my acoustics, and Kaufman and I were starting to focus on that. And now that's all switched back around.
So, all right. So there's a number of electric guitars that you made, which are fairly artistic expressions, which I presume are happening also in the late 1970s. This one's also. And then, I mean, your acoustics were quite artistic as well. I mean, you did a lot of inlay work and such with them. Were you doing all of your own inlay work? Was that all of your own expressions and ideas?
Yeah.
And they were thematic, these guitars as well.
Yeah, I didn't do a lot of them. I mean, I did quite a few instruments that were very underplayed, simple rosettes and just good woods, and proving that the structure was sound, and I didn't want to fancy something up that was not ready.
Yeah, but you did eventually fancy
Oh,
something
yeah,
up.
I did several fancy things.
Yeah, and why? What's the...
Well, some of them were commissions. Some of them, the our customer wanted some specific theme.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the Joni guitar, she originally wanted to design the inlay.
Mm-hmm.
And I went, oh, yeah, I'd love to work with that,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it never quite happened. I would send her drawings, try to encourage her, la, 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 la.
Right.
And then, even though I'd started the guitar, it hadn't been really dressed out yet, when I moved to Sonoma, I finally got a call. She just called me up. She just said, your old friend Joni, listen, these are my ideas. I'm going to let you run with them, and then she described the I Ching and other things she wanted to incorporate.
Mm-hmm.
And I sent her a drawing saying, "Is it? Let me know if you don't like it. Otherwise, this is it."
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that was.
And she agreed.
She agreed. Yeah. She agreed.
Yeah. Yeah. Great. Okay. I mean, the first time I became more conscious of your work, and it's quite late in your career because I'm just younger. That's just the reality of it, right? I was at a NAMM show, maybe around, well, it was definitely, I can tell you exactly when it was, because I'd opened up the art gallery to show guitar sculptural art. So it was January of 2008. And I was at an Indian food buffet having dinner with Claudio Pacelli.
Oh, that was such a great restaurant.
Yeah,
yes.
Yeah. And I was having dinner with Claudio Pacelli. He's like, oh, there's Steve Klein. I'm like, who's Steve Klein? He looks at me like I had two heads. Like, you don't know who Steve Klein is? Steve's the forefather of avant-garde guitar design. And at this stage, I was already well established and working with people like Claudio and Jens Ritter and Teufel. And so he didn't understand how the fuck I didn't know who you were.
Right.
Because of my interest in guitars.
Yeah, especially through Teufel. I mean,
Yeah. And so he calls you over and you come on over and nice to meet you. And I think he even sat down possibly. Well, we might have
seem to recall
eaten together at that point in time. And then a few weeks later, I got a book in the mail. Your sort of biography book that Paul did.
Uh-huh.
You sent it to me.
Oh, okay. I forgot.
With an inscription, something of the sort, like, hey, nice to meet you. Let's do something together, or let's stay in touch, or something of the sort like that. Yeah. And well, there was no reason really for you to remember it. I'm some guy you met who had just opened up an art gallery to show guitar sculptural art, which was interesting, I presume, to you.
Oh, absolutely.
Right. And so you sent me your book. It lives on my bookshelf now in our home in Tuscany. No, anyways, somewhere. In Canada or Italy. There's the book. It's still there. And it was introduction to you as an avant-garde guitar designer by one of the world's great avant-garde guitar designers, because Claudio and Claudia are also really avant-garde in their design. Yeah. How do you feel about that description of you and your work as an avant-garde guitar designer?
Works. I just don't call me a bad guitar designer and I'm fine.
Because you seem to play this thing back and forth between like, yes, I did this thing that was really artistic, but hey, I made like very functional guitars, but yet you stretch out into these areas that probably work against you from the average guitar player's perspective.
Yes, absolutely true.
While you stand on your rock of I make functional guitars, while very clearly making beautiful design guitars that are highly functional, don't get me wrong. But if it was strictly about acceptance and function, one might say that you would, be making a F-150, pickup truck of a guitar if you just wanted that function, but yet you don't.
No, and I don't think I could compete in that part of the market.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas I have just enough of a niche to, I'm not competing against myself.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's always going to be a market. After almost 60 years of doing this, I'm still here.
Yeah.
And I'm not dead, and I've got some other ideas I'm working on.
Yeah.
So now, am I going to get rich doing all this?
Depends on how you define rich.
Yeah, not in the financial way, but still having a good time. I'm still
and you own your time.
I've been blessed to
That's
be
a
able
kind of
to,
wealth that most people never achieve, Steve.
Yeah. I've always had situations where I almost live work. I mean, I can walk in here, at 10 at night and take something out of the clamps or glue something back up. I have that freedom of live work. I've always tried to maintain, and that's been very, very helpful for me.
Yeah. Potter's wheel in the bedroom.
Potter's wheel in the bedroom. I like it.
Cedar Creek Custom Case Shop is your premier fretted instrument custom case maker, and we invite you to create a musical instrument case unlike any other, one that's unique to you. Every Cedar Creek custom case is hand-built by highly skilled craftspeople using only select woods, Providence Forge hardware, and premium instrument-friendly materials. At Cedar Creek Custom Case Shop, we are dedicated to helping you design the case of your dreams. Find out more at cedarcreekcases.com. All right, so when does the ergonomic guitar sort of start? With your friend Carl, who had polio, you start working on this shape. You already mentioned that it came together, but let's give us a timeline here, because this is your biography.
That's going to be late 80s.
So, late 80s.
But that started to come together.
Yeah.
And it was after the Ronnie Montrose design got collaborated into the Ned Steinberger Headless thing. At that point, Ned was actually making, a neck for a wooden body. That little horn thing, I guess, was designed by a guy named Glenn. And I went, oh, well, now I've got something to work with. It's not just something you can't modify.
Right. Yeah.
Which I think is, nobody asked Ned Steinberger about how wood sounds. It's just not in his wheelhouse. And so the fact that, he and I are working on something together and I'm focusing on the wood aspect of it, I think we're going to have something that could be very cool.
Great.
Very cool. And modifiable and producible by, whoever wants to do it.
Yes.
So, and hopefully affordable.
Yeah. So that first one, you meet Ned with Henry Juskovics in Nashville with Gibson.
I'd already met him at a NAMM show.
Okay.
This was before Juskowitz and taking over Gibson and was starting to take over Steinberger. Ned was at an NAMM and I'm walking by, got one of my guitars in hand and I go, okay, this is somebody I need to meet. And I just walk in and introduce myself. So that's how Ned and I first met. And then that it was that next step of meeting Ned again in Henry's office at Gibson that, he solidified.
And was that guitar made under the Gibson brand at that point in time?
It was made under the Steinberger name. It had, I don't know, it was that weird transition.
Yeah.
And I was basically selling bodies, pick guards, other hardware to Ned, and they were doing all the final assembly at the Steinberger plant.
Okay.
And at some point after the acquisition, Steinberger, Gibson, blah, 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 I don't know, it just came out of the blue for me. They'd made some agreement with their Japanese distributors. Xenon was then making their bridges and also distributing Gibson and Ned's stuff in Japan. they make a decision that Steinberger's no longer going to assemble the guitars. And I get a PO in the mail. They want 14 electric headless guitars. And I'm going, well, number one, I can't compete with the price.
Mm-hmm.
Number two, I got to buy parts and everything from Ned.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm willing to negotiate the possibility. And so that's what we did. I ended up having to raise the price. Blah, blah, blah. I got all the parts. So I started doing assembly.
Mm-hmm.
And, they eventually started making a wooden neck version of it.
Yeah.
I've got my totally hollow version.
Yeah. Yeah.
Still around.
Still running around. Yeah. Okay.
And I've got a new hardware manufacturer,
Mm-hmm.
RWB down in Southern Cal.
Yeah.
So all the hardware, all the bridges and the headpieces and stuff are made here in America. They're all machined out of 7075 aluminum, not cast. They weigh about half as much as the original Ned Steinberger stuff, which would the original, Xenon manufactured zinc garbage that dissolves and eventually breaks under the tension.
Mm-hmm.
They sound better. They operate better.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah. So when is, we associate that guitar very strongly with Alan Holdsworth.
I still see it more with David Torn, but Holdsworth was an early one, and it was my buddy Carl.
Mm-hmm.
Very first NAMM show we went to, he was selling, and this was in 1979, garage basement of the Disneyland Hotel.
Mm-hmm.
He was selling a foot pedal.
Okay.
One of the very first.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's now a huge industry around foot pedals, right?
Mm-hmm.
Carl had designed with a friend of his a foot pedal. Alan Holdsworth was using it.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I went to Alan's house and, we had a chance to meet there. But David Torn was my big contact because I saw him the very first year I displayed the Headless at NAMM.
Mm-hmm.
He had actually been on the same plane with Ned Steinberger flying from back east to the show in Anaheim. Yeah. And Ned had said, yeah, you should go see this guy. And David introduced me to Bill Frisell and Andy Summers and, all these other people who all eventually, for a while were playing clients. So.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I think it's because I still see the guitar player cover with the harp guitar.
Oh.
I think that's why I have such a strong association there with Holdsworth and that guitar.
Well, that was Michael Hedges, though.
Ah, shit. That's me completely screwing. That's why I got it wrong. Like, why are you saying it's not important? Because I just crossed Holdsworth and Hedges together.
Yeah, well, that's quite a cross, I'll have to say. Yeah, no.
Yes.
Yeah, that was
Holdsworth lived for a lot of more years. Yeah. Hedges.
Yeah,
Hedges is who I was thinking of. I was thinking of that guitar player cover with the harp guitar. So Michael Hedges.
Yeah, that was...
pardon my big...
that was a huge thing. I mean, as far as I know, the very first electric harp guitar ever made. And literally designed, again, string, scale length, spacing, distancing, all exactly like his Dyer harp. So didn't have to relearn anything in that placement regard.
Yeah.
There's a great story about, I saw Michael open for Crosby, Stills and Nash at the Concord Pavilion. And, he's doing his thing. And at this point, he was wearing his bowler hat and had his microphone and, was in bare feet. And so he was dancing and singing and playing and everything. So he finally reaches down and picks up the harp guitar out of the case. And I'm up in the audience. Guy in front of me leans over to his friend. He says, looks like he's playing a bag of golf clubs. I love it.
Fantastic. Yes. We when building out the websites these days, we have to put in all this metadata to make sure that search engines can find what they are.
Mhm.
But the first thing that happens is the AI guesses at what they are. And sometimes an unusual guitar like your guitar, or I think a toyful birdfish, it like guessed like dental tools, or like like it didn't even call it a guitar in any way, And so that's what that reminds me of. It looks like you're playing a bag of golf clubs.
I've got Steve Boyce from RWB, the bridge maker. I don't know what he fed into AI, but he sent me a picture of 2 guitars that were AI designed Klein guitars.
Yes.
They're, number one, physically impossible to make. I cannot imagine a string that works when it goes one direction and then at the end of the fingerboard changes direction.
Amazing.
And the harp guitar, all of the sub bass strings disappear behind the body and back, so it's unplayable.
Yeah.
But it was really beautiful what they did to my logo.
Oh, yeah?
It's obvious that it kind of read the logo, but arranged it in this. I mean, if AI is what's driving our wars, we're doomed, man.
Well, first of all, they're not using the same level of AI as what's available for the internet.
Yeah,
but
I know, but it gives you the impression that it's not reliable.
No, but I mean, you could say the same thing of any ad illustrator from the 1950s or 60s who just had to draw a guitar in an ad who didn't actually play guitar.
It didn't actually play guitar.
Or any model that's holding a guitar.
Yeah, or a lion that was painted, 600 years ago by somebody who'd never seen a lion.
Exactly. Yeah. So I think that even Shakespeare, what was it, The Merchant of Verona, I think it was, he describes it all the water, and Verona's landlocked, and so there's all these. Yeah. So there's still a need for guitar makers in the world. That haven't been replaced yet. Amazing.
Yeah.
So, all right. So Hedges pulls out the guitar. The guy says it looks like a bag. He's playing a bag of golf clubs. But then you heard him play it for the first time.
Oh, no, I've heard him play it before that.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, that was just one of the last times I actually saw him play it on stage.
Yeah.
Going to be a great movie coming out about Michael.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Misha, his son, and his brother Brandon are putting together, and I've seen a lot of the footage. It's going to be a stupendous movie.
Well, his influence continues.
It is amazing. I last time I was at the Osaka show, there was a young woman at the Taylor booth, and I finally, after having heard her demos on and off, I finally went over and introduced myself, and just said, nice to meet you. I knew Michael. I built an electric harp guitar, and she was like, but she was stupendous, and there are all these young kids that were so influenced by him that never even saw him play.
Yeah. No, of course. I mean, we're still, anybody who's interested in gypsy jazz today, is inspired by Django Reinhardt, but certainly never saw him play.
Right.
And that's the way history will unfold.
Yeah.
The advantage is now, though, that at least we have video and recordings of it. We have no idea what Mozart intended that stuff to sound like, because we have no recordings of Mozart actually
Well, we also know that Stradivarius never heard his violins the way we hear them. They were all short scale and got strings.
That's right. Yeah. And so, the advantage now is that we actually have permanent records of that stuff. And so those people get a chance to actually hear Michael in some way. And so that's great to hear.
This space is normally reserved for brands who make stories like this possible, like the Dario and the Cedar Creek Custom Case Shop. If your company belongs in this conversation, let's talk. we partner with brands who value craft, culture, and the quiet power of a well-placed idea.
So I'm just thinking about other sort of moments that I'm curious about and are notable. There's a point in time where I experience what I think is the first acoustic bass that I actually thought sounded reasonable as an acoustic bass in a guitar shop just outside of Rochester, New York. And of course, it's
one sitting right over there.
Is there one right there? And it was the one made at the Taylor factory, but it's a Klein Taylor collaboration.
Mm-hmm.
How did that come to be?
Well, it depends on if you ask Bob or you ask me.
Well, I'm asking you. I'll ask Bob some other day.
I approached Bob. It was in Easton, Pennsylvania, at GAL convention there.
Mm-hmm.
He had given a wonderful demonstration about it. It was just how he used his CNC machines and
Mm-hmm.
And at that point, literally everybody, Martin, everybody was coming out with an acoustic bass.
Mm-hmm.
Taylor didn't have one.
Mm-hmm.
And I just went up to Bob and I just, 'cause we'd known each other, but I said, "Oh, you want to design an acoustic bass together? You don't have one in your line."
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And he went, "Sure."
Mm-hmm.
So, it was easy to drive down to Corona and, I said they could build spaceships if they wanted in that factory. But
yeah.
There were production leads to compromise. And that instrument was actually about an inch shallower than I wanted it to be. Not that it would have made that much difference, but I think I would have gotten a slightly better frequency response in it. It wouldn't fit in their curing machine. So we had to shrink everything. Welcome to putting things into production.
Well, I mean, there is a concept that's not talked about. A lot of people talk about form follows function, but there's another strong design concept called form follows production.
Yes.
And that
overrides
been
just
very
about everything
strongly
else.
shaped
Yes.
by our ability to produce it, at least the guitars that are commonly experienced by people, to get them to a commonly available price point, they have to go through a system of things. And that system means that things get altered. Yeah.
And can be altered sometimes for the better, but most often not. Just like the Mark series I was talking about.
Yeah. So when was this that you do this collaboration with Taylor?
Oh, Christ. That's early 90s.
I presume this is somewhere...
94, 95. Yeah, right around middle 90s.
So I suspect this has something to do with the MTV Unplugged series of things, because acoustics actually really recovered once Clapton's Unplugged comes out. And once every major band...
The plugged, unplugged, you mean?
Yeah, that's right. But once every major band in the world does an acoustic set, there's a big hole in the market for all the bass players, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. They're supposed to play something.
Oh, yeah, no.
Some acoustic guitar shaped object too.
Yeah.
And they didn't exist.
Taylor flooded the market, they pretty much, everybody from Sting to Flea to,
they all played it.
Yeah. And I had quite a little side business because I demanded that there be a door in the thing of tearing out bracing.
Yes, yeah.
People would send me guitars and I'd rip the bracing out and I'd take out the pickup system and I'd put in an RMC system. And so I had a little side business of making them right.
Hot rodding it to where you thought it should be. Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, I mean, it's not uncommon. There's lots of people who were, scalping braces in old Martins, 70s Martins and such that were built much heavier than previous Martins were and such. And so there's been a modification element to the luthier business for a long time.
Yeah.
Including those Stradivarius that you just talked about.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
This whole idea of, you devalue the guitar by not making it playable. I mean, it's got to be playable. Otherwise, it's just an antique.
Well, there's in the production side of things, there's always a very strong look towards warranty as well. and how likely is it to come back on warranty. They tend to overbuild a little bit to make sure that they don't have failure points.
Yeah.
You know, like you mentioned earlier in your story, you dropped your dad's guitar and it exploded.
Yeah.
Martin can't afford to make guitars that explode when they drop, right? But a luthier, a Viennese luthier, would have built that to be light and responsive in a way, and not so concerned. Don't drop your guitar, they would have said.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, all right. So here we are, mid-90s. You've built many acoustic guitars. You built many electric guitars. The ergonomic thing has happened. You've done a collaboration with Taylor on the bass. You know, from what I recall, I think that Bob's original idea of the American Dream, you were asked to maybe be, I think you looked for lots.
I was there before Bob was.
Right.
Yeah. It was a cooperative of guitar-minded like guys that were sharing tools in a house in San Diego.
Yeah.
And this guy, Captain Bob, was running it. And I'd gone down there and I showed him one of my first acoustic guitars, and they invited me to move in. And that predates Bob. If I'd moved in, I might have become part of Taylor Guitars. Who knows?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. When was that in San Diego?
Oh,
that whole thing.
Goodness, that was 70. Oh.
Okay. You've had a full life, Steve. There's lots of things back there that we try and I'm just trying to make sure that when someone like Wilson Schuneman watches this, he's like, I can't believe he didn't.
Yeah, well, you can have Wilson go through all this and correct all my bad dates. He knows more about what I've forgotten than I remember, so.
Yeah, that's all right. So, all right. And then you and I, we met in 2008 briefly over some Indian food in Anaheim. And then, you know, I don't know much else past that point before we connected again for your 50th anniversary when I contacted you of being a part of the first boutique guitar showcase. Is there something that's missing in that space that needs to be covered?
Nothing I'd want to talk about.
Okay. All right.
Ill health and a bunch of, there's things that, but it also had part to do with the industry at the time and, no sales. And
All right. And then you and I sort of connect 10 years ago at this point because I was asked to find a better way to work with guitar makers like yourself. And I remember your response at being at that first show, because my whole purpose was to make a model that worked for guys like you. And we did the very first one in January 2017, your 50th year of guitar making. You release your Fibonacci guitar, and you say, 50 years, and I'm finally on the main aisle at the NAMM show.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, it's not a cost-effective thing for small guys to take advantage of, and by that time I'd already done plenty of NAMM shows. And I knew what I was getting and not getting out of it and what it was costing me in time and money. And so it was nice just to be on the main floor rather than down in Hall E or, stuck in some corner somewhere.
Yeah. Well, the Boutique Guitar Showcase has become one of the most busy parts of the show now.
It's great.
It's the primary.
It's great. I remember when Rip Turner and I mean, this is long ago. We tried to talk NAMM into, getting a floor in the Marriott or something like that, where, we could all stay in the room and it could be our booze and it would be a quiet place for people to come in to listen to acoustic guitars, but they would have nothing to do with anything that wasn't on the floor. So we got nowhere.
Yeah. I mean, it has expanded out to the hotels and back over the years,
Yeah.
but that moment in time, it might not have. It's a nice idea, but
Yeah. Well, I'd grown up in the ski industry, right? And most of the trade shows I'd been to were just that. They were hotel rooms.
Mm-hmm.
And, you'd go in and look at the skis and the boots and everything, and yeah, it wasn't a big auditorium. So this is something I was
familiar with
and thought, it would work.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
But you managed to figure out a nice workaround.
Well, high heavy theater curtains in an intentionally quieter part of the show, put in some quiet demo rooms. Matter of fact, I think in the second year of the BGS, you were invited to be part of another group of exhibitors, the Theaters Beyond Limits thing.
Right.
And I remember you still coming back to our demo rooms going, Jamie, can I use your quiet room?
I remember that.
You eventually came back in the BGS.
Yeah.
Yeah. The value of someone, getting those rooms as a part of what you get is
sure.
Yeah, it makes it work.
Yep.
Yeah. It's still a compromise, but it's
the entire show is a compromise. It used to be the most unmusical place on the planet. At least they've managed to rein it in. I mean, it was. There was a time it was just total chaos. Acoustic guitars next to drums next to.
It's a real challenge to show musical instruments. The big thing is, everybody wants an amplifier. Nobody wants their neighbor to have an amplifier. So it's like, how do you get together more than one person?
Right.
To show
and some manufacturers make drums and guitars.
That's right.
So.
Yeah. I'm a drummer and a guitarist. You're a drummer and a guitarist, and a bass player. And so, they exist in the same spot. It's a challenge for sure. But in the end, we still get business done and we still are able to. Every one of these interviews that I do with people, there's always a very significant moment that happens at the NAMM show in their career. Every one of them. Even if they say, I hate going to the NAMM show, they can't tell their story without having significant moments that happened at the NAMM show. And so it's, we don't all like doing a lot of things we do, but we do them because they're still good to do.
I'll tell you, it has been absolutely fascinating to watch it grow. I mean, like I said, first NAMM show, garage basement of the Disneyland Hotel, literally an asphalt floor.
Yeah.
To, going to the convention center, only being able to fill a hall and a half, to finally expanding the convention center to be able to, take everything in. It's been a fascinating thing to witness the growth in that regard.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. All of the guitar makers who make acoustic guitars from the period in which you started making guitars all have the same moment in their history where they say, and then I realized, wait a second, a person can make a guitar? They all thought they were factory objects. They're all like, wait a second, I can do this. I can't tell you how many times I've heard that line from different people that we've interviewed.
I've heard that line too, and I find it hard to believe.
I think it's because you grew up always making something and having that workbench and the craft wheel. You've always known you could make something.
And again,
but that's not everyone's story.
My grandfather as an artist, maybe I could. I'm going to do this. Hang on. Really
See
quick.
If you can get past this camera.
I can do that.
Oh, he's skinnier than I am. Because
these were produced by my grandfather. I'm convinced that this was how he sold himself to that caster in St. Louis.
Yes.
That he came to America with these.
Mm-hmm. And these are, may I touch it?
Yes.
Yeah. And these are
copper.
Yes.
Release that require an enormous amount of expertise. You have to start by creating the image.
Yeah.
In, probably a clay or a plaster.
Plaster,
and then,
mold,
it has to be plaster in the end, because then what you do is you put a sheet of copper on it, you put it in an oven, and you let the copper relax over the whole thing.
Sag into it.
And then you have to go back and do all of the detail work.
So the detail in the end is more of a etching.
It's all hammered etching.
Yeah. Fantastic. And these are his images, 100%? Yeah. Great.
Oh, that's where I'm convinced I got my artistic stuff from.
Wonderful. So, is there anything that we missed, you think?
Oh, of course.
But important stuff that we should take the time to say, or?
How much time you got? I'm.
Yeah.
We could always embellish, elaborate, talk about my drug use or whatever, politics.
Yeah.
But if you think you've got enough stuff to work with.
Do you have any good drug use with politician stories that we can work through?
Not with politicians, but plenty with musicians.
we can skip that for now. We can leave that for MTV or the tabloids.
We'll let the tequila robbery be the
one.
The one.
Steve, thank you so much for taking the time.
My pleasure.
To open up and share your story, to laugh and to cry together, and I'm really glad I know you. I think I have a better life for having known you.
Oh, bless you.
And thank you for making inspiring guitars and for continuing to make inspiring guitars. I'm looking forward to seeing what you're doing here next.
I got more toys on the way.
As we enter the 60th year of Steve Klein's guitars.
Yeah.
I look forward to it. So,
all right.
Yeah. Until next time.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. You've been listening to Life with Strings Attached. If today's conversation meant something to you, consider passing it on. These stories find their place through the people who share them. A new episode comes out every Friday, right here, wherever you're listening. I'm Jamie Gale, and thanks for listening to Life with Strings Attached.